Transformative Principal, Episode 51, with Theresa Stagger.
Welcome to Transformative Principal, the show where we learn every week from a leader who's making a difference, how to become better, and improve our schools. I'm your host, Jethro Jones. You can find me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. You can find great resources and the show notes at transformativeprincipal.com.
My name is Theresa Stagger, and I am a second-year principal in southeastern Michigan. I am the principal of a pre-K through 8 Catholic school, and we have about 135 students pre-K through 8, which is a fantastic amount, to be able to do the cool things that we're trying to do.
Wait, how many pre-K through 8?
135.
Oh my goodness, that
I know.
Seems like hardly any.
It is. When I was teaching, we had 135 kids in a grade.
Yeah.
And so we have an average of 11 students per class. My son is in the kindergarten there, and there are 7 in the kindergarten, and we have 13, I think, in the first grade where my daughter is. And it's amazing because they're able to do so much more because there's, just literally so few kids. I think the biggest class we have 2 classes that have 15.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Wow. And that's whole grade levels, right?
That's it. Yeah, we have there's one class per grade. And
so how is that even sustainable?
You know what? Remembering too that in parochial schools, in the state of Michigan, it's different in different places, but in the state of Michigan, we don't have any vouchers or anything like that. So if our students come to our school, they have to pay tuition. Mm-hmm. And we receive no money from the state. The only thing that we receive is title funds and only because that our district, the district that we're housed in, has a couple Title I schools. And so if any of our students are eligible for Title I and live in the boundaries of those 2 schools, we receive funding for those kids. And I think we have, I think there's only like 2 this year because it's only K through 5 and there's only 1 family that lives in that area. Wow. And so we receive that funding, and we receive Title II from that district as well. But, and that's, prorated based on how many kids we have from their district and blah, blah, blah. But so it's sustainable because in parochial schools in Michigan, they make a lot less money than the public schools do. And it's because we don't have tax funding. We can't, it's purely based on enrollment, but we're also subsidized by the church that we're a part of. And the Archdiocese says that you can only have, the subsidy is supposed to be about 20% of your operating budget. And once it starts getting above that, then they start looking at, what problems are where you can cut things. But parochial schools are truly a place where, the people who want to teach and want to be able to share their faith do that, because you don't make a lot of money, and it's not even really, for a single parent, I don't even think it's enough for them to be able to survive, let alone, but as a second income, it works really well. And it's a happy place. We try to make it, it sounds Disney-esque, but we can't give them what they deserve to be paid. So we try to make it a really, really good working environment. Mm-hmm. And that helps too, because anyone who's taught, in a public school, and I'm not saying that all public schools are like this, but it can get to that point that it's so stressful because there are so many kids and there's so many more loopholes and paperwork and, so many other things that keep you focused on that, that it's nice to kind of not have to deal with all of that sometimes. And so, and we can be more flexible with allowing them time off for doctor's appointments, without having to take a half day or, extra, leaving them a cup of coffee, taking them coffee up to their classroom or something like that, just to kind of, but it's only sustainable in that our families pay tuition. We do a lot of fundraising, and that's kind of the way that it goes. Now there's we have a new governor. No, we don't have a new governor. we had a new governor 4 years ago. And he is kind of turning everything into business. That's where he is. And I was actually laid off when he started all of his cuts. As a teacher, I was laid off.
Because you're a music teacher.
I was a music teacher for 8 years. And then I was laid off. And I was not at the bottom of seniority in my district. I was right up in the middle. And I was cut. And then, but he is very pro charter schools and pro private schools. So I don't know if he's going to start pushing. We had a push for vouchers. Probably, I think when I first started teaching, there was a big push of trying to get vouchers pushed through. But, when I was in the public school, I was like, no, this is a horrible idea. They're going to take all of our money. No. But, now being on the other side of it, it would really help us out. It would allow us to pay our teachers at least, a livable salary.
Yeah.
But it is a great environment, and I'm very fortunate that I don't have to make the money in my household, so I can take this job at a very reduced salary, and I can keep it because I love it.
Yeah.
So it's very fortunate. Like you and I were talking about earlier, some things are just meant to be, and I feel like this is one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's pretty fascinating. So I interrupted a little bit, pardon me, and got us off on a tangent.
You're okay.
But so what is the thing that this is your second year, your first year was done. What did you walk away saying, this is the best thing that I did this year?
You had asked me that a couple of weeks ago, and I was like spouting off the things that we checked off at the end of the year. This is what we did. This is what we did. And the more I thought about it, there were so many deeper things. But I'll talk about, I'll kind of talk about both of those in a little, in a certain way. One of the big issues that they had before I got there was it was very unstable. They had a principal for about 25 years that had been there forever, and she retired. Then we had another one who came from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and that's about 6 hours from us. So his family was up there, and he came, and he was wonderful. And then he got another job closer to where he was from, and he and his wife wanted to start a family. So then he left. And then there was this year where they had 4 principals in the year. One of them was there for the summer and then 3 weeks. And then they had an interim. And then I think the priest was the principal for a while. And then they brought in this other guy, and that was not a good fit. And so, it was just, and he stayed through the end of the year, but he was gone shortly after. And a lot of people left the school because of that. Yeah. There was just too much instability, too much, of the unknown. And nobody likes to feel like, they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's kind of where they were all sitting. So when I was brought in, the idea was we have to calm everybody down. We have to let them know, the school is not closing. We are going to calm things down. This was just a bad year, and it's going to get better. And so there was a lot of rallying, and there were a lot of people that we had to convince. And then on the other side of it too, people were worried that I was going to leave,
right?
Because the principal that they had before got a better job and left. And there was so much more to it than that, but that was how they saw it. And so they were like, well, why wouldn't you leave? And I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. Right. I don't need to make any more money. So it would have to be a really, really good situation to pull me away. And this is the best situation I could think of, because the priest trusts me 1,000%, and the teachers work with me. So I would never ever want to move out of a situation like this.
Right.
It would be crazy unless there was a reason that I had to. And so we calmed a lot of people down, and we increased enrollment by 12%, which was huge because they had only been declining enrollment for about 5 years. And the increase that we had was not bringing people back, but it was bringing in new families from really good school districts around here and from charter schools, where they're going to school for free, and now they're choosing to pay to come here because of what they've heard. We did a ton of marketing, we did a ton of social media to get the name out there, because we're in a little place called Rockwood, and Rockwood is like, in the nicest way, that it's an amazing town. It's this itty bitty little town. It's like Mayberry. The police chief and the fire chief are brothers. Yeah. They're, it's right across the street from the school. There is no downtown. We have the police department and the volunteer fire department and the school, and it's the only thing in Rockwood. Yeah, I mean, it's this itty bitty little town, and so we're not, we're in between two big areas, and it's just kind of hidden. We're not on a main street. We're in a, so we had to really prove that we were here, and show people we were here. So that was a huge part of it. And I think that, looking back now, that's probably the biggest thing that we did, was bring the community together. And so now we can move forward. But I had mentioned to you a lot of the other really cool things that we did, which is...
hold on just a second, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because here's what I find so fascinating.
Okay.
I've interviewed a lot of principals so far, and they keep coming back to this idea that community, relationships, culture, all that stuff is what they are most proud of. And
yes.
That is the one thing that is measured, that is required, that is stressed the least,
right.
compared to everything else that goes on in a school. And what's been so fascinating to me is that these highly successful principals that are known for so many other things, and we're going to talk about those other things that you're known for, you still come back to this idea that it's about the people, and it's about having a good relationship with them and trusting them and having them trust you. And to me, that is just so powerful. I just can't believe that every single principal keeps on coming back to that, when it's the thing that we're also taught the least about in our administrative preparation programs. But the good principals that are making a difference in other areas, that's where they're starting. And it's just so amazing to me.
It's totally true, because if you do not have a good relationship with your stakeholders, with the kids, with the parents, with the community, you're sunk. Right. It's human nature. It's unfortunate, but it's human nature that people always feel like there is an ulterior motive for something. Mm-hmm. And so if you can get them to know who you are and really what you're trying to do, and that, principals do not go into being principals because they want power or because they want more money. That's not, if that's what you want this job for, you better look for something else, because it's not it. That is not the reason that you do this. And once the parents see that I remember I had one of our parents, one of our little boys, or one of our fourth graders, for instance, they were playing and they were being silly and goofy in the classroom. And somehow, I'm using my air quotes right now, but you can't see them. Somehow, he got a massive piece of pencil lead stuck in his hand, right in the palm of his hand. And he has no idea how it happened. None. I'm like, it had to hurt, and that's not where your pencil goes. So I feel rather confident that there was something going on that should not have been.
Right.
And it is deep in there. I mean, there is no way to get this thing out. And he is flipping out. Mm-hmm. So the secretary is, she's rubbing alcohol on it, or peroxide on it, to try to clean it out so that we can see what's really in there. And she's like, this thing is deep. And so she called Mom, and she's like, what do you want me to do? And it's everybody knows everybody here. It's like one big, huge family. So right. Mom knows the secretary, and she's like, you know what, grab some tweezers, try to get it out. she's like, just, you could not do this in a public school. There's no way, there's no way.
So many things that you just said I would never let my secretary do. So
exactly.
Go on.
Yeah. It's like, you sit there and go, holy geez, but they're all like family here. So, it's like leaving your kids with their aunt, and aunt calls mom and she's like, what do you want me to do? And she's like, just try to get it out.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you can, try to get it out. Let me know if I need to leave work. So my secretary's sitting there and she's pushing on it. She's trying to move it. We're soaking it in water. She grabs tweezers. She tries to grab it. And this kid is hysterical because now he realizes it's not coming out and he knows it's a bigger problem. Right. So we call mom and we're like, you have to get here because he's flipping out and we're not trying anymore. Like we tried to do the surface stuff. It's not coming out. So get here. Mom decides she doesn't want to take him to the doctor because she's going to wait for, 3 hours. Sister has a volleyball game at the high school tonight, and they just don't have time to try to get this out. So she's going to sit there, and she's going to try to get it out in the office. And so this poor little boy is holding his hand, and he's now in my lap. Mm-hmm. He's like, I've got my hand over his eyes, and I'm facing his head on my shoulder, and he is sobbing. He's got my other hand and he's like breaking my fingers. He's squeezing it so hard. And mom is like trying to dig. There's the secretary's holding ice on his hand, and she's there to where she's like, it's okay, or just don't look, you'll be okay. But mom was like, mom goes like that, to them, that's huge. And then when they realize that, these are our kids too.
Right.
I care just as much about this little guy as I do about my own children. And I would expect, I know that any one of these parents would do the same thing for my kid if he was in there. And once they realize that that's who you are, your job gets so much easier because now it goes from, which is how it should be. Now it goes from them thinking that there's some sort of backstory or ulterior, or you're hiding something, or they're waiting for something to happen, to now knowing that if something happened, you made the best decision you could, and I'm good with that.
Right. And your experience with that kid and that mom helped solidify that, right?
That's right.
It takes experiences like that for people to actually trust that you are doing what's best.
Yeah.
And do you look for opportunities to make those things happen, or do you let them happen naturally and just have patience waiting for that to come?
They just happen. If you are in tune with your children and you are in the classrooms and you're in the hallways, you have to be a people person for this job. Mm-hmm. And you have to love the kids. And if you look at a child and something doesn't look right, it's probably not. And it's okay to go up and ask them. We had a family, one of the little kids, his cousin committed suicide. She was in high school. They found her. Dad came in the morning and was like, just a heads up. I don't know how he's going to be today, but this happened. And so a group of us went to the funeral home, and we were talking to the kid all day, making sure he's doing all right. You're just joking around with him, trying to get him, but you don't know what these kids are going through, and for some of them, they just need you to know, they just need you to know that something's not okay, and that the feeling that that there's someone else who knows that they can come to. My door is open 100% of the day, and kids come in all day long and tell me some of the most ridiculous, goofy things. Mm-hmm. But to them, it's the most important thing that's happening to them at that moment. And the fact that they know that they can tell you is huge. And then, you go and you talk to the parent at pickup and you say, listen, Johnny came in my office today and, he told me that this was happening. I just want to let you know that we had a conversation about it. Let me know if you can do anything. I have a work cell phone. I give the number out to the parents. I purposely did it. You can get a Google Voice number. You can do whatever, but I give it out to the parents. I'm like, if there is something that I need to know about, please let me know. Because the last thing that you want is for one of your kids that you love to come into this school upset about whatever's happening outside of the school day. And then somebody says something to them or looks at them wrong. And it starts this chain reaction of, well, what is wrong with her? Why is she being, and you're like, I can warn the teachers. I can give the teachers a heads up that this is happening. We want to take care of these kids. You want to make sure that they're okay. You know, when my children are at school, I don't want to have to worry about them. I want to know that they're being taken care of emotionally and physically.
Right.
You know, if their dog died, I want the teacher to know that, you know, my kid was up all night last night, hysterical, because her dog died. You know, we found the fish upside down. I can't calm her down.
Right.
But then the teachers can, you know, the teachers help with that. And so we all work together to make sure that these kids are taken care of in every way that we can. And it is so important. It's so there. You cannot do anything else in your job, and then it rolls into your relationship with the teachers. It rolls into your. I mean, it just it's all encompassing. If you can have that community in your building, it changes everything.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Yeah, that's cool. It's easy to sometimes think that we need to focus on other things, but what we really need to focus on is that community and building that. About the cell phone number issue, I was pretty protective of my cell phone at my last school, and then just before I moved up here, right after I moved up here, I saw a tweet from somebody that said, I want to say it's Joe Mazza, but I could be wrong, and it said, we trust our parents trust our kids with our parents trust their kids with us for a whole day. We can probably trust them with our cell phone numbers or something like that. And
that's a great one.
And I thought, you know what? That's right. And here on this island that I live on, everybody already knows where I live and knows who my kids are. And, you know, if they really need to, they can come over to my house and knock on the door. Yeah. So I might as well let them have my cell phone number. And so I've been calling parents on my cell phone a lot more and saying, this is my phone. You can text me here. You can call me here. Whatever you need. You know, you can get in touch. And, you know, I'm not like publishing that in our newsletter every month. But I am, when I'm calling a parent and there's an issue, then I'm fine to use my cell phone if it's after school. I can't use my cell phone during the day because I'm in my office. It's a dead
like a bunker.
But that's all right. So so anyway, it's good to be able to do that and feel comfortable doing that, because I'm looking at it from that perspective. They're trusting me with their kids all day, so I can trust them with this personal part of my life, my cell phone number, and it's not that big a deal. And parents are going to respect that. And if I ever have kids that get it and do something inappropriate, then they're tools to make sure that's not bothering me, you know?
That's right. So, yeah. And it's, you know, now, especially now with phones that come with do not disturb, you know, the biggest issue that we used to have was that, you know, maybe it's an inappropriate time. Maybe, you know, mom calls and you know, for a good reason. Maybe there's something wrong, but you just can't, you know, I turn my phone off usually on Saturdays. Saturday is my day that I don't check my work email. I don't get on the work Facebook. It is my day off, because I found when I was working in the job between teaching and my principalship job, I had to have a day off because it was 24/7 and I couldn't handle it. I was going crazy. So I now do this, and my families know. They know that it's Saturday. I'm not going to answer my phone, or my email. But if there's an emergency, they will send me a text message, and I will get to it. But and I have yet to have anyone abuse it. But the fact that they know that they can is more than what they need. You know, just to know that you have given them that trust. That's it.
Yeah. And that goes a long way to establish that trust.
Yeah, it sure does.
Thank you so much for downloading and listening to this podcast. Please subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher, and please feel free to give us a rating on Stitcher Radio or on iTunes so that we can help spread the word about how much we're learning in this
podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Twitter at Jethro Jones.